The Pattern. Part 2 of 4. I didn't go back to work for 3 days. Called in sick, which wasn't entirely a lie. I felt nauseated every time I thought about that lamp, about Alina sitting at her desk in the dark, working until her heart gave out. But I needed the job, and eventually I had to face the 23rd floor again. The first night back, I almost skipped that floor entirely. But as I stood in the stairwell between the 22nd and 24th floors, I realized I couldn't avoid it forever. I climbed those last steps feeling like I was walking to my own funeral. Everything was exactly as it had always been. Dark cubicles, empty hallways, the soft hum of climate control. I made my 2am round quickly, barely glancing at Alina's corner. The lamp was off. I practically ran to the elevator. 2 hours later, I stood in that same elevator, my finger hovering over the button for the 23rd floor. I could have skipped it, written in my report that everything was secure. But something compelled me to check. Maybe it was guilt, or maybe I just needed to know if I'd imagined the whole thing. But this time I noticed something else. Something I'd missed before because I'd been so focused on the mystery of the light itself. There was a coffee cup sitting next to Elena's computer. A white ceramic mug with a faded logo from some marketing conference. Steam rose gently from the surface. At 4 a.m., in an office where no one had worked for 6 months, I approached the desk slowly, every instinct screaming at me to run. The coffee smelled fresh, like it had just been poured. When I leaned over to look closer, I could see my reflection in the dark surface of the liquid. And for just a moment, I could swear I saw another reflection beside mine. A woman's face, kind eyes, looking up at me with what might have been gratitude. I blinked and there was only my own terrified expression staring back. That's when I started keeping notes. If Alina was somehow still here, still working those late nights, then there had to be a pattern. Something I could understand. I began arriving at work 30 minutes early to prepare, and I extended my rounds to include more frequent checks of the 23rd floor. The pattern became clear within a week. Every night, Alina's routine played out exactly the same way. 2 a.m. desk dark, no activity. 30 a.m.s if I checked early. I could sometimes catch the faint sound of typing coming from her corner, though the computer screen remained black. 4 a.m. lamp on, fresh coffee, and sometimes if I was very quiet and very still I could hear her humming softly to herself. She was working. 6 months after her death, Alina Vasquez was still coming in every night to finish whatever project had killed her. I started researching the campaigns Brightwater had been running around the time of Alina's death. It took some digging, but I found references to a major client presentation that had been scheduled for the week after she died. A multi-million-dollar account that would have made her career. The presentation had been postponed indefinitely after her death, then eventually canceled when the client went with another firm. Alina had been so close to finishing something that mattered to her, so close that even death couldn't make her stop trying. I began to feel protective of her routine. When the cleaning crew complained about coffee stains appearing overnight on the 23rd floor, I volunteered to handle that area myself. When building maintenance mentioned strange electrical fluctuations around Alina's desk, I told them it was nothing to worry about. For 2 weeks we coexisted peacefully. Alina worked her ghostly night shifts and I made sure no one disturbed her. I even found myself looking forward to the soft glow of her lamp during my rounds. It made the empty building feel less lonely, knowing someone else was there, even if she was dead. But then things started to change. It began with small differences in the routine. The lamp would flicker sometimes, as if Alina was having trouble maintaining her presence. The coffee cup appeared less frequently. When I passed by her desk during the 30 a.m. typing sessions, the sounds seemed fainter, more distant. Last Thursday night, I found her lamp on as usual at 4 a.m., but something was wrong. The light seemed dimmer, and when I looked closely at the desk, there was no coffee cup. Instead, there was a single piece of paper lying next to the keyboard. Handwritten in careful script, it said simply, "Almost finished. Please don't let them forget." I stared at that note for a long time, trying to understand what Alina was asking of me. Don't let who forget what? The presentation she'd been working on, her death, her dedication to her work. The next morning I called Brightwater Communications again. This time, instead of asking about Alina's departure, I asked about the presentation she'd been preparing before she died. The receptionist transferred me to Alina's former supervisor, a man named David Chen, who seemed genuinely saddened when I mentioned her name. Alina was brilliant, he told me. That presentation would have changed everything for us. She was working on something revolutionary, a completely new approach to brand storytelling. We tried to piece it together after she passed, but her files were corrupted somehow. We lost everything she'd been working on those final weeks. Corrupted files. I thought about Alina typing in the dark at a computer that never turned on, trying to save work to a system that could no longer hold it. She'd been trying to finish her presentation for 6 months, but there was no way for her to actually complete it. No way for her work to persist beyond those ghostly night sessions. That Friday night, I brought something with me to work. A small digital recorder that I placed carefully on Alina's desk before starting my rounds. If she was still trying to communicate, maybe I could help her find a way to preserve whatever she was working on. During my 4 a.m. check, the recorder was gone. In its place was Elena's note again, but this time there was more text below the original message. Thank you for listening. The coffee was always too strong here, but I never complained. I should have. There are so many things I should have said. I found the recorder in my security office the next morning, sitting on my desk with a yellow sticky note attached for David. From Alina. Tell him the Hartwell campaign was about connection, not conversion. Tell him I figured it out. I listened to the recording on my way home. 47 minutes of Elena's voice, clear and professional, outlining the presentation that had consumed her final weeks. Revolutionary, just as David had said. A complete reimagining of how brands could build genuine relationships with their audiences. I called David Chen that afternoon and told him I had something that belonged to Alina. Something she'd wanted him to have. But when I played him the recording, David's voice changed completely. Marcus, he said quietly, Elena's presentation was never about the Hartwell campaign. She'd never even worked on that account. That's it for part 2. Follow Untold Lores for part 3. Like and subscribe for daily stories.